Broadcasting live from the multiverse, it's Tap Tap Concede.
What, like a specific point or just the whole place?
The whole place.
Wow.
This podcast is so big we can't be confined to a single plane.
Yeah, so we
confined.
And neither can M15.
Well, that's yeah. So that's one of the reasons.
The master of segues.
Oh my God! Wait, there's a weird disembodied floating head.
Hi guys.
Hi Dan.
Hi Dan. So,
All right.
How's it going?
So here's the deal, guys. Dan was in town about a week ago.
It was sweet.
It was super cool. And me and him and Cam sat in these very seats and recorded a lovely podcast about M15. We cracked the pack. We answered some questions on Twitter. And then we listened to it, and that audio issue that has plagued a few of our podcasts showed up. And we decided, you know what? We're not going to put this out. It's really not good enough.
Do-over.
So we're going to do this do-over. And we've gotten Dan back. He's via Skype. He's in our little computer now, which is adorable. I love it, like probably more than I should. We have Alex here now. We have Kathleen here now. So it will be a little bit...
It'll be better than the previous stupid podcast.
Exactly. Absolutely, it will be better. So we're actually going to try to hit on the same points. We were all pretty happy with how that podcast turned out. So we don't want to lose it, so we're going to kind of do the same things, including the pack we cracked. So we're not going to crack a new pack.
Oh, can I crinkle it, though?
We're going to go over the pack we did. So we rolled last week, and we opened a pack of Future Sight.
It was spectacular.
It was spectacular.
We opened it.
Very quickly, we're going to go through the cards that we opened, and we're going to talk about them. So first up is Petrified Plating. It is a 2 and a green for an enchantment aura. You enchant a creature, and the enchanted creature gets +2/+2, but it also has Suspend of 2 for 1 green mana, and I will read the suspension subtext.
A wall of text.
It's, rather than play this card from your hand, you may pay 1 forest and remove it from the game with 2 time counters on it. At the beginning of your upkeep, remove a time counter. When the last is removed, play it without paying its mana cost.
do you have to choose the target?
If it's a creature, it gets haste.
No, you do not.
No, you know.
Okay.
So
But you
this
still
card.
Oh,
Go ahead, Kathleen.
you still give somebody 2 turns to blow you out by making sure it's got no valid targets.
Yep. I mean, if on turn 3 when this thing comes off a suspend and you don't have a creature, that kind of sucks.
So it also sucks if you have no creatures and they have creatures because you have to cast
Because you have to, yeah.
Yeah, so...
This is like the free-to-play model here.
To get blown out. The only time I could ever see playing this card is if I have, like, the nuts, like, green aggro deck that I can just suspend this on turn 1, also always have a 2-drop, and then get in there. Just, like, have the Petrified Plane come in on turn 3 and then massacre somebody with it, and just hope they don't have an answer after that, right?
Yeah. Here's something. Could when it comes off suspension, can somebody respond to it basically coming onto the stack by bouncing your creature or something like that, and then blow you out that way?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's exactly like casting
it.
a spell. It just happens during your upkeep when the time counters run out.
So risky.
Yeah, it is risky.
Yeah, it's like what the heck is the name of that one that it's like Ancestral Recall only with suspend?
Ancestral Vision.
That's the one. And having that cook for 4 turns and then try to resolve and have it countered is just the worst.
Yeah.
You're just like, sad face.
So it's even worse when it gets misdirected to your opponent. 'Cause I think it's still a targeted spell.
Ooh.
This is just, you have all the time in the world to misdirect it. Also,
Like
James, we should
swerve.
probably let everybody know why I know so much about Magic.
Oh,
yeah. Who's Dan?
I forgot about
Who
that.
am I?
Dan, who are you?
So, my name is Daniel Emmons. Up until very recently, I worked on the design team for Magic R&D, and I do not work there anymore, but I have worked on a whole bunch of sets that have come out recently.
Oh no.
Oh no.
He froze.
Oh no.
Oh dear.
The worst.
Just the worst. All right, well, we will get him back on the line.
We will forge forward.
Hello.
Bravely.
He's back.
He's back.
I'm
His
back, but
picture
there's no
went away.
video.
Oh.
You were
you
too?
actually are better looking at this point.
Oh,
yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, wait. No, because I don't have a video. You just
I'm
making fun of
excited.
me.
Yeah,
I get it.
because you're now just a blue square with a little white profile person.
You didn't.
Okay.
which is a little awkward, but that's
All
fine.
right, well, whatever. They got to see me. That's the important part.
So now we're just switching over to this. All right.
Cheeky.
So, Dan, what did you work on at Wizards again?
So I was on the design team. I was on Mark Rosewater's team. The design team is responsible for basically starting the sets off. We make the first set of cards that goes into the sets. We make all the mechanics. We design a bunch of the individual cards that go into the set. So I've worked on sets. Journey into Nyx was a team I was on. I was on Dragon's Maze before that. I was on the development team because we have designers on development teams for Conspiracy, and I did a bunch of other work in the future that has not been announced yet.
Top secret.
Well,
Super secret.
Well, as those things come out, we will keep bringing you back, and you can keep talking about that. But today, you're here to talk about stuff that you designed for M15, correct?
That is true. I wasn't on the team, but I did do some work on the specific, some of the cards on there, because I did a lot of work on the Planeswalkers. That was a task I took on.
Yeah.
But do we want to finish off this pack? And
Yeah, we'll finish off this pack
do
pretty
it.
quick. So let's move on. Bogarden Lancer, 1 and a red for a 1/1 with Bloodthirst 1 and flanking. So Bloodthirst is if an opponent was dealt damage this turn, this creature comes into play with a +1/+1 counter on it.
So it's a bear.
So it could
provisionally.
be a bear.
an almost bear.
And flanking reads whenever a creature without flanking blocks this creature, the blocking creature gets -1/-1 till end of turn. So if a 2/2 blocks this, it becomes a 1/1. If a
kills-
1/1
it kills
blocks this,
X1s,
it
right?
just dies. Yeah.
Well,
That seems fine.
Yeah.
yarp.
Seems
Yep,
pretty good to
it's
me.
fine. If you can trigger Bloodthirst enough.
Yeah,
That's
I
gonna be
mean,
the trick.
it's clearly better if you can get it down as a 2/2, right? So
Yeah, I mean, I think if you can only get it down as a 1/1, it's just really bad.
Yeah, I feel this is maybe just actually this is a bear with a big downside and a small upside.
I think that sounds about right to me.
all right, next up is Venser's Diffusion. 2 and a blue for an instant. Return target non-land permanent or suspended card to its owner's hand.
Oh, weird.
Oh, yeah.
That affects cards that are removed from the game.
Yep.
That's exciting.
It's solid. It's a bounce spell that interacts with the set mechanics.
Yep. And
Can, like, bounce anything.
I feel like you
Almost.
could really get somebody for like they've been waiting for 3 turns for a suspend and really give them the rub-ins.
Yeah, it's just like, yoink, go back. All right, next up, Oblivion Crown.
Oh, this
1 in a
guy's having a
black.
bad day.
He is having a bad day.
Oh, Jesus.
1 in a black for a enchantment aura. It has
is
flash, and it reads, enchanted creature has discard a card. This creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn.
There's a card
seems-
further in this pack that combos with this.
This seems okay, I guess.
Well, not really.
Yeah,
but
it's,
Oh,
it's right up next.
It's part of a cycle of flash auras. This one I don't think is particularly great because you have to, again, like anytime you're discarding a card to give it +1/+1, like you've already spent a card to put this enchantment on the thing, and then to spend
No, it's
additional
terrible.
cards to give it +1/+1 really isn't very fun.
Yeah.
But Dan, what if you're discarding Grave Scrabbler?
Grave Scrabbler is a 2/2 zombie for 3 and a black with madness of 1 and a black. And madness reads, if you discard this card, you may play it for its madness cost instead of putting it into your graveyard. That seems pretty good. And then
Yeah, go ahead.
I keep going. When Grave Scrabbler comes into play, if its madness cost was paid, you may return target creature card in your graveyard to its owner's hand.
So in order for this to combo with Oblivion Crown, I have to pay 1 black, put Oblivion Crown on my guy, then discard Grave Scrabbler, play another 1 back, pay another 1 in a black, and then I get a guy back, and then I'm at like card parity because I've gotten
So
+1/+1.
sick. What are you talking about?
I feel that this set. I'm not super up on Future Sight, but I feel that there may be better madness enablers in this
yeah,
in the set.
it's not very good.
All right. Moving on. Sprout Swarm. 1 and a green for an instant. It has Convoke.
Oh, that just came back.
Just came back.
Is it
Convoke reads, each creature you tap while playing this spell reduces its total cost by 1 colorless or by 1 mana of that creature's color. Buyback of 3, which reads, you may pay an additional 3 colorless as you play this spell. If you do, put it back into your hand as it resolves. And what it actually does is you put a 1/1 green sapperling creature token into play.
That's it.
But wait,
But wait.
if you have 5 dudes, you can play this for free and then put it back in your hand.
Dan, explain to people why I know this is your favorite card in the pack.
Oh, is it?
So this card is the absolute nuts. It comes out at the end of turn, so you don't even have to commit mana to it. For every guy on board, it costs 1 less mana, and you just have it's not an enchantment, but it basically reads 3 or 4G, make a 1/1, and that's just available at any time. And then it's further reduced by the guys that you're making. So eventually you're getting to the point where you cast this thing, you make a guy, and then your next guys are cheaper. And then if you have 5 guys and 5 mana, you're making 2 guys a turn, and then you can cast 2 mana worth of spells and make 2 guys a turn.
Yeah. So
the card is absolutely insane.
Can I use a card can I tap a creature with summoning sickness for Convoke?
Oh yeah, you can. Like if you have 5 mana and 4 creatures, you can play Sprout Swarm and then tap all 5 guys, including the new token, to cast Sprout Swarm again.
Yup.
Yeah, it's pretty insane.
It's these.
All right, moving on. Sporloth Ancient. At the beginning of your upkeep, it's a creature, fungus, for 3 green, and it's a 4/4. It says, at the beginning of your upkeep, put a spore counter on Sporloth Ancient. Creatures you control have removed 2 spore counters from this creature. Put a 1/1 green sapperling creature token into play.
Inevitability.
Yeah, so just...
I really like these cards. The Thalids made a cool comeback.
Yeah.
In the Future Sight block, and then Modern Masters. If you play during that, you got a chance to play with this card and some of the other ones. This is a good one, just because the body is really good and the ability is solid.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like 4 for 5 is not that bad.
Yeah,
Just
no,
start making dudes.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, moving along. Whip Spine Drake. 3 blue for a creature Drake. It's a 3/3, and it has flying. It also has Morph.
What?
So... you may play this card face down as a 2/2 creature for 3 colorless, and you can turn it up face time at any time for its morph cost. And its morph cost is simply just 2 and a white.
So this card can be played in a mono blue deck or in a mono white deck. You can get it into play face up just by morphing it and turning it up for its white cost.
Correct.
Right. So you can. So if you're in mono white, or just maybe you don't have the right mana cost. Basically, if you have to have it immediately, you can play it down for 3 and then immediately flip it face up for another 3.
Correct.
So you get that for 6. So it's slightly more expensive, but the mana is easier. And so you can't. And can you? So say I have say I have a Doomblade, because we'll say this is a mixed format where these cards are running around. Can I respond to a morph trigger by Doomblading the morphed card, or is it too late?
I don't believe so. I believe morph does not use the stack. What would
morph
happen
is like the fastest thing in Magic.
Yeah.
It's called the special action. It's up there with like casting or with like playing a land in terms of things you can't respond to. There's like a list of special actions that go into that bucket, and morph is one of them.
Yeah.
See, I actually already knew the answer to that question, but it's good. Well, it's good. It's good for people who are not familiar with it to know that about why.
Yeah, no,
it's
very relevant. Like there are a lot of times when an Onslaught block, when it originally came out, it was a big deal that you couldn't respond to that, because like shock was in the format, and you shock a morph or you try something turn up and you want to shock it to kill it in response before it becomes a 4/4 or whatever it is, and it doesn't work out for him.
Yep. All right, moving on. Lymph Sliver. It is a sliver for 4 and a white. It's a 3/3, and like all slivers, it gives all other slivers something. In this case, it gives all sliver creatures absorb 1, which is if a source would deal damage to a sliver, prevent 1 of that damage.
Yeah, I don't think we've had any of these commons that had less than a paragraph of text on them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Future Sight is some kind of set.
It's very weird.
It's pretty awesome though.
I feel that as an experienced player, I'm like, this is fun, but I feel it should be a terrible set to have come into the game.
Oh yeah. Oh god, it's real bad.
Like, what's going on? Why do they have
the entire Time Spiral block was just one gigantic in-joke for people who've ever played Magic, and everybody else is just totally
what is
lost.
this?
But this card is not very good, right?
Unless we're forcing Poison Slivers, in which case it's absolutely playable.
Okay. So only if you're forcing. So remember that, kids. Only if you're forcing.
Plus, there's a new sliver that just came out in M15 that gives all your slivers Death Touch.
That's true.
There we go.
Yeah.
Oh, so that seems good.
All right, more slivers. Homing Sliver is a 2/2 for 2 and a red, which reads each sliver card in each player's hand has Sliver Cycling 3, and of course this also has Sliver Cycling 3. Ugh.
Oh my god.
So
this is an uncommon, right?
Oh,
No, this is a common.
Oh, we're still on common. Great.
Yep.
God damn.
Yeah, you pay 3, you pitch this, and you tutor for a sliver.
A better sliver.
The sliver you want.
This is the one that you pitch when you want a good one.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's really good in the sliver deck, right? Because ostensibly you're in the sliver deck because you have some bonkers sliver, and this card is just a way to go get that card.
Yeah.
Seems fine.
All right.
Not as interesting as wizard cycling, but
No.
Yeah, but what is really?
Yeah. All right, next up is Salt Skitter. 3 and a white for a worm, and it's a 3/4. I'm okay with that.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I'm okay with that so far. It reads, whenever another creature comes into play, remove Salt Skitter from the game. Return it to play under its owner's control at end of turn.
That's fantastic.
So-
No, that's good.
Oh, yeah, no, it's awesome. So
Like, obviously, you're not going to want to put an aura or any 1/1 counters on
no,
that.
but you attack with it, you play your creature in the second main phase,
It comes back.
comes back untapped, and now you have a blocker.
Yeah.
Well, so it also counts their creatures. So if they play a creature before they attack, your guy just pieces out and doesn't block.
Yeah,
Oh.
that's true.
cuts both ways.
But, hey,
Oh well.
always look on the bright side of life.
This guy has
Yeah.
lucky charms.
All right, we're moving into the uncommons. Dust of Moments. 2 and a white for an instant. Choose 1. Remove 2 time counters from each permanent and each suspended card. That's kind of insane. Or put 2 time counters on each permanent with a time counter on it and each suspended card.
Huh.
So it's just like you have a bunch of like maybe dudes with +1/+1 counters and a couple suspend cards out, and you're just like, oh, they all go away.
So
I
it
mean-
doesn't affect +1/+1 counters.
Yeah.
Or no, yeah,
It's
sorry,
It's
yeah.
only time counters?
It's only time
It's
counters.
only time counters. Yeah. That's why.
So essentially, it is really good if you're trying to, like, blow out your opponent by casting a bunch of suspend stuff. Like, there's like a white. There's like W for a suspend guy that's like a 2/2 flyer, and then some 2-mana suspend guy in white, and then you can Dust of Moments and just get them out really fast, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
But there's also just like a bunch of vanishing creatures in white from Planar
That's right,
Chaos.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
And those will give you more turns. Or you could use it to snipe out your opponent's vanishing creatures or, delay their suspend stuff.
Right.
Great.
Cool. All right, next up, Cloud Seeder. 1 and a blue for a 1/1 flying fairy spell shaper. 1 blue and tap, discard a card, and you put a 1/1 blue fairy creature token named Cloud Sprite into play with flying, and Cloud Sprite can only block creatures with flying.
This seems fine.
Well, like, it makes a bunch of flying men, so...
I'd rather discard Grave Scrabbler to this thing than the other thing.
Sure,
It's still,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
still not that great, but I mean,
Yeah, like
if
I mean,
you've
nothing else
got
is
to play a
stack
thing
up.
like this,
Yeah.
it
Or
could be a lot
discard
worse.
It seems fine.
All right. Phosphorescent Feast.
Nom, 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 nom.
I love the name of this card. 2 green. Sorcery. Reveal any number of cards in your hand. You gain 2 life for each green mana symbol in those cards' mana cost. So very
Yeah.
early devotion.
Yep. This is Chroma, or the precursor to Chroma, which is the precursor to Devotion.
Yeah, I mean, you almost want to cast this and also have another one in your hand to reveal it, so you gain 6 life
it's
off
one of
this.
those weirdo cards that just, like, feels like it should work with itself, but LOL, it doesn't.
No, yeah.
Pound.
Well, because, like, by the time you get to 5 mana, it's just like, well, I have nothing left in my hand, so...
Yeah, this
Yeah.
seems bad. Also, the
Heard it.
effect is gain life, which is not amazing.
Yeah.
If it was put like 1/1 Saprolings into play, I'd be like all over this, but
All right, and the rare.
Is it
Da-da-da.
Tarmogoyf? Did we get Tarmogoyf?
No.
It's not a Tarmogoyf. You
It's-
knew it wasn't
it's
a
better
Tarmogoyf.
than Tarmogoyf.
Damn it, Dan! You knew it wasn't Tarmogoyf. Stop getting people's hopes up. I'm gonna
Foil
okay.
Tarmogoyf?
Yeah, I replaced it.
double
actually.
Tarmogoyf.
It's double Tarmogoyf.
Yes.
It's double-sided Tarmogoyf. No, it's Joyra of the Gitu. 1 blue-red for a legendary creature, human wizard. It's a 2/2. And for 2 colorless, remove a non-land card in your hand from the game and put 4 time counters on the removed card. If it doesn't have suspend, it gains suspend.
So it's like discount something that's crazy expensive.
Sure. So if you have like a 7-drop, you can basically,
Cast it for 2.
cast it for
On
2
layaway.
on layaway. So, cast it for 2 and you don't get it for 4 more turns, but hey, that you're probably okay with that.
suspend Emrakul.
Suspend Emrakul.
That's a pretty good one.
Yeah,
I mean, I feel
that's
that's the
actually pretty decent.
I mean,
That's almost fair.
People,
you get
people
the-
do it in Commander a lot.
Yeah.
Is Emrakul banned in Commander?
I feel like he is.
I think he is.
He
Okay.
is.
Yeah, sorry.
Joy of the Gitu is a pretty popular commander, though.
Yeah.
There's nothing quite like suspending the dumbest spells possible.
Just like throw a Garden Hellkite on there.
Oh, yeah. People did that in
Something like
Limited,
that.
I'm sure, back when this was a set.
All those like ludicrously high-costed worms and krakens and whales.
Well,
and
because if
junk.
it's commander, it's got to have blue. It can only have blue-red on it, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the biggest blue-red things.
Yep.
It could be
So-
blue or red.
Yeah.
So the one thing that people did for a while was Worldfire before that got banned. You just like suspend all the stupid the annihilates of the world, and then Decree of Annihilation, whatever the ones that destroy all the lands and all the permanents, and then you just suspend things after that. So it's just like destroy the world, destroy everybody's hand. Oh, by the way, I have Bogard and Hellkite on layaway.
It's like, you monster.
You jerk. All right, so that was our pack of Future Sight. Let's roll along and start talking about M15.
M15, hooray!
M15. So the pre-release
we didn't tell people what our picks were.
Sprout Swarm.
Yeah, his pick is Sprout Swarm.
Sure.
And I'm just going to go with Dan because he's probably the best Magic player talking on this podcast this
agree.
week. It's either that or I take Joyra and go for the lulls, right? Try to make something happen.
Yeah,
those are my two options also. Joyra, not because it's... I think there's still probably like a second or a third better card than Joyra, but Joyra is just way too much fun to pass.
Right.
Yeah, I think I'd take her, and if she wasn't there, I'd go with Dan here.
Okay. So, M15. Pre-release is this weekend. Everybody's excited. There's a lot of hype around this set. I don't think I've seen... quite so much hype actually for a core set since we came back, and I believe M12 was or M11 was
M11.
It's a good core set.
Was the core set?
People were excited for M14 though too.
I thought that set was really boring though.
I liked M14. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, M14 was. I enjoyed it in its limited format as well. So, Dan, before we sort of start talking about a couple specific cards that we want to talk about, can you tell us sort of as much as you can about the development? I know you weren't on the team for this, but I'm sure you kind of got bits and pieces and stories here and there about M15 and the choices that were made in terms of what kind of cards we're seeing, because it seems like a very exciting set with a lot of very splashy, fun cards ranging from all across the multiverse, literally.
Oh yeah, no, it is super awesome. So the lead designer of the set was Aaron Forsyth. It was not actually somebody from the design team. It was the big boss of R&D. He's the guy that oversees all the day-to-day Magic stuff. He goes to all the card crafting. He makes a lot of the big decisions. And he's been around a while, and he's an awesome designer. But this was the first set he's led in a while. I can't remember the last time he led a set. He led the development of New Phyrexia, I think. But I think that might have been the last time. But anyway, he's all about bombastic things. He was looking for ways to spice up the core set. He wanted to get a set that would be resonant and sort of on par with the Innistrads of the world, while still maintaining the service of just we want it to be the intro point for the new player. So there's a lot of things that he went out of his way to do. Like creatively, we have stuff from a whole bunch of different planes. We wanted to spruce up the creative and get some of the other planes in there that are super exciting. Magic has a bunch of awesome, cool places, and just opting not to use them in this sort of mishmash of a core set seemed like a mistake. The designer cards were another thing because we knew we'd get huge, wildly different designs than what we would come up with normally, because we used to work on Magic. Well, I used to work on Magic all the time. So eventually you fall into a pattern, you design the same kinds of cards, and then you get better at it, and the cards you design are better. But sometimes you just having an outside opinion makes your card you come up with an idea you never would have thought of. Some of those designer cards fall into that category for me that are just were mind-blowingly good once I wrapped my head around it.
What are some of this? What's your one standout for the designer cards?
I forget the full name. It's the Slyblade something. Essentially what it does is, I'm going to look it up on my gather over here. So Zathrid Slyblade, 2 and a black.
Oh, yeah.
2/1 hexproof, and then for 3 and a black, until end of turn it loses hexproof and gains first strike and death touch. It was designed by Rob Pardo, so essentially it's just a 2/1 with hexproof, and black cards don't usually get hexproof. If I were designing a card, I would never think to give a black card hexproof because it's just not in its color pie. But what Rob did was he made this thing have hexproof, and then he gave it an ability that says, I lose hexproof and I gain first strike and death touch. So if you're listening to the story this card is telling, this assassin is hiding in the shadows, and then it leaves the shadows to come out and kill one of your guys, first strike and death touch. But it loses hexproof, and the one window you have to kill it is when it jumps out of the shadows to try and kill one of your guys.
Such flavor.
Yeah, it's so good, and it's just something that we would have never come up with because of the rules that we've built up for ourselves over designing cards. And it's cool to do these little color pie bending things every once in a while, and this seemed like a good place to do it.
Right. Cool. All right, so some specific cards. let's start with Garrick.
This card is sweet.
Garrick is, I've said this numerous times over many places, is honestly, I think, my new favorite Planeswalker.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I know that I have you to thank for that.
Yeah, so
I love this card so much.
Yeah, so I did a bunch of work on the Planeswalkers. Essentially, when I got there, the design team wasn't paying too much attention to the Planeswalkers. They were really powerful cards, and we really wanted them to be stand out. So we left it mostly to development for the balancing and the tweaking. But I felt like the cards weren't telling the best story that they could. So when it came down to do M13 Liliana, that Liliana is all about swamps when the Liliana character is supposed to be about necromancy. So the card was fine, and it was an interesting card, but it didn't really tell the Liliana story. So I started going in and checking on all the Planeswalkers in every set for the time period that I was there, and making sure that they all sort of fell into line with their own stories and their own mechanics and stuff. So Garrick was one of these ones that I took a look at, and we had a special mini team that I got to be in where we started hashing out new abilities because we weren't really happy with the ones that development had in there for filler. So there were a couple of cool ones in there. The Destroy Target Planeswalker ability was always there because everybody nailed that one, right? He's a Planeswalker hunter, creative. Like that was his top line. This is who he is. He hunts Planeswalkers. His card destroys Planeswalkers. It's perfect. And the Destroy Target Creature was one that they had before. He kills things. He's a hunter. But the other two abilities were things that I came up with during that meeting. The Black Beast was supposed to be a mirror of the Green Beast that he makes on his other cards. Yep. I think I gave those beasts Intimidate, but they changed it to Death Touch for power reasons. But the important stuff was, the beast is black instead of green and has a black keyword. So it's, a 3/3 beast, but it has this black tinge to it that feels pretty cool. And then the ultimate was we were trying to find something that got across to you're being hunted. The other ultimate was this weirdo thing of target player gets an emblem of you can't cast spells and your life total is 3 or something. And it was just the least fun thing to play about, and I had no idea. So I turned, I think it was Max McCauley. I was like, Matt, what is this? And he was he just turns to me, he's like I'm stupid. He's turning you into a beast and he's hunting you, obviously.
Oh,
and it was just one of those things. I was like, okay, that's great. It's not very fun to play against, but okay, I get where you're coming from. So I came up with this emblem, which was essentially anybody who attacks you or is hunting you gets a huge bonus. So it puts a big target on your head. And and it worked out. The numbers weren't exactly the same, but when you're on the design team, you really don't care too much about the numbers. You're just making sure the effects are flavorful and giving development the tools they need to make the best possible card.
Right. Cool. So, obviously you can't talk too much about it, but can we look forward to your handiwork on the Planeswalkers going forward for a couple more sets? Or
Oh, yeah. So design works way out ahead of time.
Yep.
I was on the Blood set design team, which is the fall set after Khans of Tarkir.
Oh,
so
wow.
up until that, I was on the actual design team for that one, and I had stuff to do with all of those.
Sweet.
So basically all the Planeswalkers from Gatecrash on, I had some input on.
Awesome. That's exciting because you can definitely tell that the Planeswalkers have taken a turn for the better in terms of just flavor and how they fit in the story, and I love them. They're sweet.
Yeah, I like that we are seeing the sort of Vorthos level story advance through through the core set, which is neat and new, and through the Planeswalkers. I have not read the Ravnica books, but now I know what happened because I can see Jace the Living Guild Pact.
Yeah, it's really cool. That was one thing I really wanted to do in addition to some of this stuff, was just get more things on cards that people are seeing and playing during the game. Because the flavor text box could be used for snappy quote line, or it could be used for a cool story bit, and the art could be used for a cool mage picture, or it could be used for a story bit. And I think going forward, I wanted to see more of that come out and see more Planeswalker FaceTime on the cards specifically.
Sweet. All right. Moving on. Next up, our preview card.
No.
In Soul. Is it just Artifact? I can't remember.
It's
just a Soul Artifact.
Big
the
shears.
giant piece of, the big shears. This card is cool. Everybody's excited to go turn 1 Ornithopter, turn 2 5/5 flyer.
Oh yeah, that's going to be the dream.
That's a dream.
Actually, what other artifacts are there in this set? There's got to be.
So there's so you also have the Artifact land.
Oh God, yeah,
Oh.
that's my favorite. Where you just
honey.
like turn 1, this thing, turn 2,
Indestructible 5/5.
indestructible 5/5.
Yeah, that seems very, very good.
Seems hard to beat.
There's also all the stabs, so you can beat people to death with your stick.
Yeah.
Which is
hot soup.
yeah. There's hot soup. You can make your bronze sable the
hot
biggest like badgery thing in the world.
Yeah, there's a lot of just like one casting cost. I'm looking at all the one casting cost
There's
artifacts.
also, like Phyrexian Revoker's not even that bad.
Yeah. There's the rock. You can make a 5/5 rock.
Oh, boosh.
You're really looking for just artifacts you'd be playing anyway, and then would be turned into 5/5s.
Yeah, James, the value is you flatten something with rock, tap it for blue, and then...
And then cast scissors.
Oh!
Oh my god.
Where's paper in this set?
It's on paper.
Yeah.
Yeah,
don't
it's
play
the cards themselves.
Yeah, just play it in real life. Rock.
Well, you're sure showing
and then
me.
here's scissors on a paper.
Yeah,
You're good. You
it's
get
a
all three.
2-card
Everyone wins.
rock paper scissors.
Yeah, rock, paper,
It's a
scissors.
little awkward, but whatever works.
We got there. So I want you to I think last week we talked a little bit about the artwork on this card as well, because it's kind of weird.
Yeah, it is kind of weird, but like, so Magic comes out with a lot of friggin' cards every year, and for those of you guys that don't know how the process works, design comes up with ideas for cards, development fine tunes them, cuts cards, and sets their abilities to what they want them to be, and then the cards with the abilities, more or less how in a finished state, plus or minus a mana, plus or minus a toughness, go over to the creative team, and the creative team, there's usually one person responsible for writing the creative text, like the flavor text, and concepting the cards, which is basically Magic-E's for writing an art description and then sending that art description to an artist. So whenever somebody gets a card like in Soul Artifact, it has some goofy playtest name, and it has the text box, and then the creative person's job is to turn it into a thing, right? An actual thing that is happening in front of us. They come up with a name, the flavor text, and the art, and it is just... like, this art is not something I would have ever thought of. Like, the creative team is very, very good at concepting all of these cards. Because, you have to just take, when you concept a set, you're concepting, like, 200 some odd cards when you're doing M15. And you got to make each of them interesting and different from each other, and ideally not the same as something that happened before, which is really hard when you get your 80th burn spell that you have to concept. It's just like dude getting hit by fire. Okay,
Dude getting hit by lightning. Dude being hit by fire and lightning at the same time.
lightning. Maybe some lava in there. I don't know. Shrug.
Double lava.
But yeah, like some of the art for this stuff is, it's supposed to be like badass fantasy, and doing that on every card is really hard. And when you get something like in Soul Artifact, like it's a little bit goofy, but at the same time, like it has some depth to it, right? Like it tells a story. Like I do not want to see a gigantic pair of living scissors walking down the street at me.
That's fair.
So actually, the more I'm staring at this and looking at this, the more terrifying I'm realizing this is becoming.
So it's just like, I guess maybe, it just makes whatever object it is huge and animate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of horrifying.
Yeah.
It does your bidding. When I looked at it, I was
Just
like,
Enoch
this looks
Chuck.
like something out of the Discworld. But I mean that in a good way.
Oh yeah, like I'm just thinking, like given what Alex's description was, I can't think of a more terrifying object to use than scissors.
Shing, 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 shing. It's like, oh god, run away.
Well, I mean, it would have to be like a metal object, right? And there's not that many.
Yeah,
in
like
the-
even weapons, like a ghostly sword is kind of like, okay, I get it,
spooky.
but like scissors are actually just very sinister in some
Like,
weird way.
Well, and what I like about the choice of scissors is scissors are kind of a utility item, but you don't necessarily think of them as like, a weapon, right? It's not the same as activating a big shield or like a dagger or like a sword,
Yeah.
like you said. Like it's like the art on the card says literally anything is at your disposal.
Yeah, I kind of like the implication that's like, oh, this'll do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll just make this the big scary magic monster that is going to win us the game.
Right. Yeah, there's like a lot of thought going into this, and this is just one of 260 something cards in the
Yeah.
set. Right?
Oh, absolutely.
It's insane what the creative team can pull off.
Could you tell us what the goofy playtest name was?
I don't actually know.
Oh.
I'm trying to think of if I know any off the top of my head,
Any
but
other
I
goofy
can't.
playtest names? All I can think of is like the playtest artwork for Wrath of God when it was like a big finger about to like flick a guy off a mountaintop.
Yeah.
It was pretty good.
Yeah, we don't actually have playtest artwork anymore. We have it's just the name.
That's
we
a
just sort of
shame.
have to cross the fingers.
Just have like ballpoint little scribbles. A dude being hit by double lava.
I hate
Double
double
lava.
lava. That's the worst.
That'll be in the next
worst kind of lava.
Core set, double lava.
All right. So the next card we want to talk about, there was a bit of a hubbub about it last week when we actually talked about it. I think the hysteria has died down a little bit, but we'll talk about it anyways because it's an interesting topic, and that is Back to Nature.
Yeah, Back to Nature. I'm hearing that a lot of people were upset about it. It's like we released this whole enchantment block, and then we released Back to Nature, and that kind of just kills all these cool cards that I got. But there are 2 points that I think are really important here. Like, one, it's not actually the death knell of all these decks. It's not a card that's ever going to be main deckable because you never want to draw this card if your opponent doesn't have enchantments in their deck. It's just, you're not going to see it ubiquitously. Like there are cards like Lifebane Zombie that were kind of oppressive, where it's just like, this is like 1BB 3/1 Intimidate. I'll play this in some decks. Oh, by the way, it hoses green and white decks. Like, that's the kind of hose card that's really bad, right? Because what it'll do is it's just like, oh, all these black decks just play this card anyway, and incidentally hate out all these black-white decks, or these green-white decks, because you can't afford to run into one of these guys in the tournament.
Yeah, this one's like a pretty aimed hoser that like you throw in your sideboard, maybe.
Yeah, and it's definitely there to make sure that the enchantment decks don't become too oppressive, right? Like the development team and the FFL team are human. They can only playtest so much, and not putting in, they call them safety valves for their things is just super dangerous. You have to put in things that is like, it's possible that we missed. It's possible that we think, some of these cards are more powerful than we gave them credit for. And if we miss too far without an answer, we end up with, Jace the Mind Sculptor or, something else, right? And banning cards sucks. Like, banning cards is never something Wizards wants to do. So it's a matter of like putting in these safety release valves in such a way to like preempt those cards, and also just give the new cards room to breathe. Because if you have this established super synergistic black-green deck or black-green Constellation deck, it's hard for something to beat. In order to break into that format, it needs to be better than that.
Yeah.
Well,
go ahead.
I feel that this sort of the analogy for this card is Ash Zealot, which was a Return to Ravnica rare. And that lady was in there just to hose stuff from Innistrad block, wasn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah, she was like specifically targeted at the flashback type stuff, and it happens a lot. Like Grafdigger's Cage was another one that got released in AVR.
Yeah, rest in peace.
The targeted hoser is very prominent. And again, like Back to Nature you can play around it if you know your opponent has it. It's certainly good against the enchantment deck, but I don't think it's gonna. You will probably see less Constellation decks in tournaments, but you will still see them, is my assumption.
I mean, does this card feel any worse than having Supreme Verdict or like Day of Judgment cast against you? I mean,
the 2 mana is kind of an ass kicker, but the 2 mana instant is the big one. But again,
it's way cheaper than I thought.
Yeah.
Well, it's 1G instant.
Ugh.
Wipe all enchantments.
Yeah. So. Yeah, it's very good. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if
Still
you have
not
to,
main deckable.
I'm still not main. I'm not even main decking that if somebody has a couple of good enchantments, right?
Yeah. Like the thing is, like even if it is, and it is pretty good against the enchantment deck, is what my assumption is. But nobody's ever main decking it, so you have like a fine game one, and then you just need to like if your deck is more powerful than theirs, you'll win most of the game ones, and then you'll have to just fight through Back to Nature and win one of the game 2s or 3s.
Yep. Okay.
Sideboarding.
Cool. All right, so what was next? Oh, I know what we want to talk about. The extra cards in N15 that don't exist within the booster boxes and the fat packs.
Wait, what?
They exist outside of M15 kind of sort of thing. So for the last couple of years, Wizards has been making these 30-card starter decks. They send them out to stores. They put them in bags at PAX. They hook Canadians on them, and Canadians spend all their money on them, and that's entirely the reason that we're here doing this podcast right now is because of those 30-card packs. But they've changed the way they do them a little bit this year, where they're actually they've printed 15 cards all branded as M15, but not actually available in packs. But they are legal in any set that M15 is legal. So all 15 of these cards are standard legal, but you can't get them in regular packs. They are also all reprints. Like, there aren't any cards here that you've never seen before. I think that would be kind of insane. But you have, like, the big guys. You have Nightmare. You have Shivan Dragon. You have Sengir Vampire. You have Sarah Angel. Cancel's in there. It looks like, is that Furnace Whelp is there?
Is that Mahodmajin?
Yep. Yeah.
Dang.
Mahamodi's back.
Mahamodi. A couple big green stompy guys. You know, it's
Terra
just...
Stomper?
Yeah,
Whoa.
So these are...
Wow, Terra Stomper's back?
Yeah.
I love that guy.
Yeah, so
big.
One thing that these have done beyond anything is give some actual depth to those 30-card starter decks. Because in the past, they've been okay, but it's basically been very like, this is what red does, attack. This is what green does, attack. I mean, even the blue and the black, and I mean, all colors were just, they're kind of aggressive, attacky decks, or at least the ones I've seen were. They didn't really have much going on with them. These ones, a lot more so. And these ones have a lot more splashier cards that will absolutely hook, you know, those new players.
Oh, man.
You know, when they get their free pack of cards and there's a rare in there, that's something. Like,
Dude,
that's
free Shivan Dragon. That's so sick.
Yeah, that's exciting though, right?
Classic.
So, Dan, I know you have some information on these.
Yeah, so essentially there's this tension when you were making a core set that you want to have cards in there for new players, and you also want there to be new content for exciting the veteran players. And that was something that got revitalized with M10, where we actually started putting new content in there. But again, as the sets go on more and more, there's a lot of cards in there that do really good work for new players, but sort of take up space for established players. So things like Sarah Angel and Sengir Vampire, like, those cards are super good. Like, those are old cards. Those go all the way back to Alpha. And if anybody, you know, is coming back to Magic and sees those cards, it's a really cool touch point for them. You know, they see these cards that they remember from their childhood or whatever, and can, you know, think back and reconnect with the game on that level. But they take up a lot of space, right? Like, if you want to put that in the core set, that's a huge flyer slot that you're using for your uncommons that makes your limited balance a lot harder. And, you know, things like Nightmare and Shivan Dragon are cards that are super awesome and super exciting, but, you know, people who've played the game have seen these cards already. And, you know, anybody who's drafted as many sets as we have knows what Shivan Dragon does in Limited. It's not that interesting anymore. So there are a lot of good things that these cards do that for Limited just sort of take up space, and this is sort of a concession to trying to make those cards available to the new players while still while sort of juicing up the set a little bit more in terms of new quality and things like that.
So instead of seeing a Sengir Vampire as sort of the big black flyer for the set, we got that cool new, I can't remember what it's called, but the 5/3 Black Demon that does cool stuff. I mean, I realize we're talking about different sort of rarity sets, or rarity, because Sengir Vampire is uncommon and that guy is rare, but it's kind of neat to see a new exciting thing rather than, okay, so this is the black flyer option.
Yeah, exactly. Like, when you only get so many of each, and, you know, if you sometimes you have to make the choice between Shivan Dragon and other new dragon. And, you know, this is sort of a shot at getting the best of both worlds, where the cards are available to the new players who will get, you know, will be the people who'll get the sample decks, but the older players, you know, might not necessarily need those cards anymore, because I have bunches and bunches of Shivan Dragons from all across history. You know, I can play them in I could play them in Standard, and that's another point. The reason you could play those cards in Standard is because it's a really bad experience if you take your sample deck that you got, and, you know, you bought a couple of packs and you put some cards in, your friends are taking you F&M, and then you're told that the cards you came with aren't playable. That's just a really bad experience. So they're not cards that are gonna warp formats, but they are cards that are fun to play with.
Cool. Awesome. Okay, so I know you have a stream to get to, Dan, so we're not going to go crazy with the questions, but we're going to have you back, obviously, because You're incredibly too knowledgeable and need to be on this thing more often.
I'm totally down.
Sweet. So we're going to do a couple quick questions, and then maybe in a couple weeks we'll try to get Dan back, and we'll do a little bit more of an in-depth conversation with him about some stuff that he's worked on and his sort of overall... I don't know what word I'm looking for right now.
Experience.
There we go. That is literally the word I was looking for. Cool. All right, so a couple quick questions.
Kathleen.
Yeah, there we go. A couple quick questions, and these are for everybody. What is your favorite keyword ability?
Oh, man.
Dan, do you remember what you said last week?
So I took the cheap out, like the cop-out answer, which is I like keywords in the context of the blocks that they're in.
Yeah, that's not going to fly this time.
What? Oh, but like, Scry is super fun and is super flavorful and does everything the set needs. And it was just added in development for some random reason, like they needed some more limited smoothing, and it was just like, oh yeah, Scry, that's just an awesome flavor hit. So like that kind of mechanic, I don't. Yeah, go ahead.
Death Touch.
Death Touch is a good.
Death Touch is a good one.
Always useful.
Yep, Death Touch is good.
Never upset to see that on a card.
My favorite was actually seen in our Packet Future site, Bloodthirst. I love Bloodthirst. I think it's really cool.
Oh, man.
Can I change my answer?
Yes, you can.
Flying.
Flying is also very good, yeah.
I feel like I've got to go basic, but it's so useful.
Oh, I don't know.
I win more cube drafts that
Do
way.
I have to pick one?
Yeah, you absolutely do.
I just keep thinking Delve, but there's like only one creature that's good with that.
Well, it doesn't have to be good. It has to be your favorite, Alex.
I don't know what my favorite is.
Actually, I'm going to change mine too now. Epic.
What?
Oh, yeah,
No,
that's a good one.
Yeah, Epic is the best.
You're the worst.
It doesn't play well. It's not like a well-designed mechanic, but it's a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I mean, there's only, 5 cards in the entire existence of Magic that has...
It was a cycle in Saviors.
Yep. And I am running one of them in my Snake deck.
I feel
Absolutely.
I feel that Epic is not due for a comeback anytime soon.
No, I assume it's probably right below Storm on the Storm scale. Have you answered
Kicker.
yet?
I'm gonna put in my vote for Kicker because it's just the most solid.
Kicker is so good too.
No, you know what? Flashback.
Flashback. That's one of the things I said last week. Yeah, that's a good one. All right, what's your favorite card from M15 so far that you've seen?
Oh, you've seen all of them.
I mean, yeah, we've seen them all.
Pick one.
I'm gonna just say Garrick. Garrick is my favorite card from M15 and my new favorite Planeswalker.
All right. I feel that naming a Planeswalker is not useful. I'm picking Frostlinks because I'm going to very rarely play with that. But I intend to draft Frostlinks very highly because not only are they good, they have an ETB effect, which I like. There's bounce effects, which means I can hopefully get sick value, which I really like. Also, it's a kitty.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm going to change my answer because now you made me feel bad.
Well,
Generator Servant is the card that I'm excited to make.
Oh, is this the one that gives haste?
It gives haste to, so you sacrifice it to add 2 colorless to your mana pool, and any creatures cast with that colorless mana get haste.
Yep.
So you can actually because you can use 1 colorless on one creature and 1 colorless on the other. I can't stop playing M15 until I do that. That's the goal.
So I was actually in the meeting room. They did this meeting called the Top Line meeting, where the person who is doing the concepting, just solicits ideas for concepts, and I was submitting concepts for this guy. I think it's kind of what I put it. I think all the little energy, like the little silver balls around him, are little energy capsules.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
Ooh, I got one.
I'm gonna go with the Slyblade.
Oh,
That
the
card
Sly-
is just
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, what's yours?
The squid guy.
Oh yeah, the crap. What's it called?
I don't remember his name, but
it's like Stalker or like
we were talking about like a legacy deck that plays this guy with like Gataxian Probe and Spreading Seas and what is it? Cabal Therapy. Oh man, the value. And Brainstorm.
There he is.
It's
yeah,
bonkers.
and Brains. Oh,
the Chasm Stalker. Is it the Chasm Stalker?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that card is insane. And designed by a friend of ours. So
yeah, and I noticed there's like a squid theme running through M15.
I'm excited.
Well, the thing about that is like when you make a token for something, you can only make so many tokens, so you try and consolidate them into thing. But when you have a squid token, you gotta use it, right?
I like that there's going to be a landmine token, even though that card doesn't seem good. Kaboomist is so flavorful. I love it, and it's bad.
Can I ask you a question about the Stalker? Is the reason why the Chasm Stalker makes squid tokens is it would be too powerful if he made something like Merfolk tokens or something?
God.
I'm not sure. I wasn't in there for the meeting. It's also possible that Mikey Newman just wanted them to be squids.
Squids
That's
are
true.
cool.
That sounds like Mikey.
And I have another question that wasn't but I noticed there's a few like Theros cards that come back, or Theros block cards that come back in M15, like the Satyr Wayfinder and the Bronze Sable. Is there any reason for that other than that they're decent cards that didn't quite ever see like top line play in Theros, and they fit well in this block kind of deal, or what?
The Wayfinder is the untap a land one guy? Or no, he's the one that gets you land. So there's a lot of when you're designing a set, there are some simple effects you always want there to be, and things like vanillas and filling out curves. And based on when you're doing the set, you want to make sure that some of those cards are familiar to people. So people that started in Theros, when they go to this core set, if I'm still getting my feet, I know Satyr Wayfinder. It's from the set I just saw, or Bronze Sable, and it's usually just the developers needed a card like this that did this kind of job, and it already existed. So rather than reinvent the wheel, we'll just use the one we already have.
All right, fair enough.
That's cool. All right, last question, and then we'll wrap up. What card do you have sentimental value for? Oh. Like, what card do you see or do you own that just sort of triggers something?
Time Stop, my favorite design card of all time. I finally tracked, it took me a long time, but I tracked down a foil 10th edition one, which removes the reminder text. So it's just for UU instant end the turn period.
Just boom.
Boom.
Turn over.
That's pretty sweet. That card is pretty amazing. For me, it's Force of Nature from like way back in the day. That card will like always take me back to like the playground at grade 6 when I first saw it, and I'm like, okay, I need to be playing this game. Why do I not own these cards yet? Because look at this dude. He's big and beefy and green and scary, and he's just a terrible card, but I didn't know that at the time. He was like an 8/8, and that was awesome.
That's crazy.
Who cares that it costs like 4 every turn to keep him around?
Dude, don't worry about that. That's next turn.
Yeah, you don't care about that when
That's
you're.
That's future James's problem.
You do not care about that when you're in grade 6. All you care about is an 8/8.
Yep. Vesuvian Doppelganger. I think I bought one of those when I was a kid at Comic-Con International, and my dad was so mad at me. It was like, I think that was the first time I was into Magic, and I had no idea what I was doing. I realized that the first time around, I was just collecting the cards, and I don't think I had ever played the game. It wasn't until like later that I started actually building decks, and then when I got back into it recently, I was like, oh, sweet. I love this game. It's fun. And collecting the cards is cool.
Yep. Kathleen?
I'm not sentimental like that, to be completely honest. So it's a card I just really like.
There's got to be a vampire or like Una or something.
I mean, did you... Yeah. When we started playing again a couple years ago, that
was the first time
That's the first time you ever played. So
I think
is there a card?
The correct answer is Step Links.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I mean, yeah.
Raksha Golden Cub.
No, the cats on Magic cards are rarely cute enough for me to be like, oh.
Black cat.
Like Step Links is pretty cute. You know what? I'm just gonna say a card I'm always happy to see resolve on my side of the table is a Vampire Nighthawk.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not particularly attached to it from like a point of view, but I'm like, yeah.
So much value.
Nighthawk is just insane. It has flying and death touch. Those were the 2 mechanics you talked about.
I know.
And lifelink.
The lifelink's just
God, that card is so good.
That card is bonkers.
I feel that card was pushed pretty hard. I feel that nowadays that card would cost 5.
Or maybe 4.
I wouldn't. That thing was printed not too long ago, right?
Yeah, but I think if that was being done now, I think you'd be like, I don't think you'd get it for 3. Like it's a 2/3 flyer for 3, and it has Death Touch, and it has Lifelink.
Yeah,
that's disgusting.
It's definitely one of the better black uncommons. I'll give you that.
Miniature Baneslayer is what it is.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I think that will do it for this week's episode of Tap Tap Concede. I want to thank Dan for coming back and essentially just re-recording the same thing he did last week.
Not a problem.
Really appreciate it, and it's been a blast having you on, and we will absolutely get you back. I have a bunch of questions that I'd love to ask you, as a Magic designer would only be able to answer. So, I guess look forward to that. Look forward to James. James asked Dan a bunch of questions.
When's Storm coming back?
When is Storm coming back is the #1 question.
All right, we can talk about it then.
Okay, that sounds good. I guess that's it. Have fun at the M15 pre-release this weekend, guys, and we will talk to you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.